Hi, and welcome to Transformation Now. This is all about living your best life now. And for today's program, I have two questions I want to ask you first so you can start thinking about those and what we're going to talk about today with our awesome speaker. And the first one is, have you ever had a challenge that you decided to actually own it, even though it's a challenge, and use it for the greater good? You're going to hear an awesome story on that. And then also, what types of mindsets and behaviors did you grow up with that have affected your life, either good or bad? And there's a lot of food for thought in this message, so hang in there. Greetings, I'm Rita Rocker Kraft, and I'm founder, producer, and host of Transformation Now, which is part of SoaringHigher.rocks. And as a speaker, author, and trainer, my heart has always been to help provide programs and books and helpful things that can really be a benefit to you in your life and your career. So welcome.
Hello everyone, my name is Carmelita De La Guardia, and I'm the co-host today, and I am also coordinator of international women's issues. I am a cabaret singer in different languages, pianist and songwriter, and also final is the translating at the medical center, Spanish and English. So welcome today.
And now I would love to introduce Sammy Troya, and I'm going to kind of read my notes a little bit here. But Sammy is an extraordinary giver, and he is, I'm amazed with this story, whose life purpose has been to make the world a better place. And really, he has an amazing work ethic, a generous heart to make positive difference in the lives of so many. Sammy is a dedicated advocate for nonprofits and community outreach, and we welcome you today.
Thank you. I appreciate you ladies having me out today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sammy, please explain about this Voluntold and how that was ingrained in your life, please, growing up.
The word voluntold came from my mother. As a young child, my mother came from a small town and came from nothing, and she married this dentist. And she used those values to us kids to benefit the people surrounding in our neighborhoods. And you know, like any other kid would sit there and say, "Why do I have to do this, Mom? Why?" And she would go, "For the sins you're not sorry for." I go, "What's that have to do with anything?" She goes, "Sam, you got to answer for what you're not sorry for one day, and maybe God will give you a pass." Okay, and I go, she goes, so what are you telling me? She goes, "You're getting voluntold." "Well, what if I don't want to do it?" She goes, "Well, you won't eat tonight." Got so much out of that because when I went and helped Mrs. Bear cut her grass, or I went up the street and I helped Mrs. Ludoff. They were both widows, and the kindness that we had to do. And Mom says, "Now you're going to have to go shovel her snow." This big walk, and I had to clean off her car and dig her path to her trash can. And she only gave me $2. I go, "Mom, it's not worth $2. You go and do that." Normally I tell you do it for free, but she wants to pay you something. So this is what you have to do. I'd come back with 5 inches of snow. I go, "It wasn't worth it, Mom." She goes, "Yes, it was. That's the penance for the sins you're not sorry for." Okay, so this is what we were told as we were kids. And that just wasn't me. This was all our siblings would have to do stuff.
And you had 13, right?
13 in my family. I'm number 12.
Yeah.
And so I was at tail end, but all of us had to do that as kids. And then you've kind of followed through with that when your siblings are doing this stuff. You know, also giving that the community outreach that we would do. And my dad would do it with his dentistry. He would make us go out and help at the different church functions that were happening, the different things inside the city, and says, "You boys got to go do this. You girls got to go sell raffle tickets. You have to go do this." But then that gave us the work ethic that he had, because he was out there doing it too. We actually got to work with my dad. That was the way we could interact. We couldn't interact in his practice or anything like that. But that was the way that we could interact with my father and my mother. And it went all the way through when we were teenagers. And all of a sudden something happened one day. I was with the Knights of Columbus in Bellevue. And they wrote all about our family to the people from the state of Nebraska. Well, we didn't know this. All of a sudden, we got called to go to Kearney, Nebraska. They honored us with State Family of the Year.
Wow.
Then they sent it up to international. We got second runner-up international that year also. It was a very nice honor for my parents. And they go, how did you get this? I go, look at that lady right there. She was the one that sat there and would say, this woman got abused by her husband. You have to go move her, the Grand Night called. Go move her now. Us 4 boys got up and went. And we did it. Her husband showed up. And I walked over there and he goes, what are you doing? I go, the Knights of Columbus and the city of Bellevue's moving your wife out of here until you guys work it out. And he left us alone. Wow. And he let us move this girl into another lady's house. You know, domestic violence, no way. We had to help her.
Been there.
Yeah, so I mean, that is what you do. You help people. And so that's, and through our lives, it went through that. So as the transition goes, you just do this for your own family, and it benefited my family on top of this. My wife didn't volunteer that much until she met me. Now she's right in the mix. So, which is really good.
Oh, wow, that is so awesome. Well, yes, and you've been such a blessing helping people and widows and abused and so many individuals. And then you also talked about being introduced as a teenager to work events and committees with organizations, and your view of that wasn't just to work, but it was also, you saw the play in it and you saw the benefits that were reaped from it. Would you like to talk to us about that?
The benefits from that is that you get involved. When I was 15 years old, my dad says, we need to build up the Squires, which is the young knights, okay, the kids, the youth program. He said, you and Joey are going to go do this. You boys are going to go there and do what I do, go to these knights meetings. Great, so we had like 10 kids. We took them camping. We had one of the parents, one of the knights come down and help us. And then we had another knight that came in, and we had saved our money. He goes, we're going to spend this money. We as a group were recognized nationally by the Knights of Columbus because we had a juvenile delinquency seminar. We did our camping. We went out and actually did community service. And then with that, we would also sit there and volunteer at the parish festivals as the Squires and for the Clement Fathers in Bellevue. Dad says, okay, and he would kind of lead us and say, okay, he talked to the knights and say, okay, the boys need to do this. The boys need to do that. You know, and then we'd also work, we'd have to clean the hall, we'd have to do this. We helped mold these boys, you know, because their parents, you know how parents sometimes, they'll just throw their kids in there. Well, we were one of those kids. We were trained to be leaders, to help these young men, these young boys turning into men. And then all are doing so well these days, so which is really great. And it was a good experience for me because it built those things in me as a young man. Even when I started coaching when I was 18, I coached Little League Baseball. So, you know, doing that, and to the point to where in one time in my life, we started a Little League in North Omaha. We got 250 kids to play baseball in North Omaha. And it was something that, and then we brought all these, we got 10 parents together, and Little Vikes helped us, gave us those baseball fields. We had like companies come there and help us build those fields up. And we had a board. We had Cargill give us $10,000. We wrote them a letter, and Cargill sent us $10,000 to build these fields. And we got all these kids. Omaha North High School gave us equipment. The thrift stores in town, I told them what I was doing. They basically gave the cleats, the gloves, the bats, any helmets they had. They would just give it away to us going down to that Little League to help these kids. So that was something, again, it started from when I was young, and it moved forward. And it moved forward in my children's school. And that's exactly what is part of what my dad trained, and the things that goes from my grandfather when he came here, and he was a grocer in North Omaha. Okay? And there was a man that told me one day, he goes, if it wasn't for your grandfather, we would have starved during the Depression. My dad with his dentistry, same thing with his dentistry. There was people that were paying him for years but his dad said they had to have dentistry. He said, bring your family in. And when they were paying him after he retired, he told the people, don't worry about it. You just go on. That is the part that we keep giving back. That's what keeps my family motivated throughout the country. All of my siblings are like this. They all give back whenever they can. And that's just how we were trained.
You know, and Sammy, I have to add to that because your grandfather brought us to this country. And like I was saying that we had a house, we had a car, food, everything because of your grandfather, Gardnello Troia. So
Yeah.
we're very grateful. Beautiful family.
But see, I'm not the only one that does this. Omaha is built upon this. There's so many people out there. I work with 86-year-old men that are still sitting there out there making it happen through Santa Lucia Festival Committee, Sons of Italy. We're building that right now. I'm working with all these men, the same men, Italian American Heritage, our church. We reach out to the Open Door Mission, Siena Francis House. All these things that we do to sit there and doing our community outreach. So that's part of my daughters sometimes say, Dad, you got to stop using this word, but I call it magic. Magic, what people do. I'm just the one sitting here giving you guys giving me the vehicle to sit there and tell what I do. But I'm working with a whole bunch of people. So much fun. Because everybody's got the same intellect. They want to do the same thing. Actually sit out there and make a difference in our community. I'm just the one sitting there being the voice.
Same,
so
at
precious.
that same note too, could you maybe expand on this Voluntold, influenced others in the city?
You work with people, people ask you to do something. It reminds you back to my mom being voluntold. You do it for the right reason. Say, hey, can you do this? You're being voluntold. No, it's really sometimes not an option. Depends on what it is. But, if you have the time, talent, and treasure, the 3 T's I call it, time, talent, and treasure. If you have that, you have everything. And there's been a guy, I was sitting there, I was telling you about, I was 18 years old, and my sister Sarita called me up, hey, we need some help out here at St. Leo's. Can you help us serve? Because we don't have enough volunteers, can you come out? It was a 25-mile trip from where I live to go out there. So I'm sitting there, I'm serving, the line's getting kind of tight, and people are waiting to get through, and this guy goes, who are you? I said, I'm Sam Troia. He goes, you go to church here? I go, no. I don't go to church here. He goes, what are you doing here? I said, well, guys like you won't volunteer. This guy was a multimillionaire. The next time we went out there and Sarita called me, he was there. He volunteered. My sister said, what'd you say to him? He's one of our biggest donors. I said, well, let's see what happens. Not only did he give his time, he gave his treasure and his talent. And it took an 18-year-old to sit there and tell him, hey, you need to get up here and do something. I did it in a nice way. I wasn't, a little snippy. But I said, because guys like you won't volunteer, and it kind of put him back. This kid drove 25 miles from Old Town Bellevue to come out here to do the right thing. Because I was asked. And you don't tell Sarita no.
Like your mom.
Like my mom.
Oh, that's great. That's so great. Well, I know we talked to previously about donations and raffles, how important that is, and also you mentioned about keeping entry fees down. Why is that so important for people to really think about donating and getting into the raffles when they go to an event?
You go to an event, you figure what it is. This is a nonprofit, just like Northside Little League was a nonprofit. And these kids, a lot of them came from nothing. So to get their entry fee in, we kind of brought it down to where we did a budget and say, okay, now you go out and sell this many raffle tickets. We got people to donate, which was wonderful, local businesses for the prizes. And one of them was a free entry fee for if they, the kid.
Yes.
And they could pay for their entry fee by just selling some raffle tickets to their friends. That's all they had to do was sell $25 worth of raffle tickets. And they came back with the raffle tickets, and they got to play for free. And anything, if they didn't have cleats, they didn't have equipment, we had a closet just for that. That's when I went to all those thrift stores. Same thing when you go and see somebody's raffle or something like that. It's the gift that's came in from everybody surrounding. When I went and worked the Open Door Mission last year for our community outreach with Santa Lucia Festival Committee, and we're handing out gifts to these people, and these mothers and fathers are in tears. The people donate all these toys. I'm just the guy delivering them to these people. Pick what you want. You get three things here. And they were so grateful.
Wow.
My kids wouldn't have a Christmas, they would say, if this wouldn't happen. And that's what it's about. It's about the giving part. So much giving in Omaha is done. It's embracing. That's what kind of keeps me motivated on what I'm doing because of the gifts of others. And I mean, again, that's what it's about. It's like a community coming together. And again, it's fun. Because everybody's got, it's the same thing.
Well,
That's awesome.
also this wonderful experience about Blake. Could you tell us about Blake?
Okay, I was coaching baseball. My son was, and this kid came in. And he played with us, and he was living with his aunt. He had family problems, this and that, and he had kind of a chip on his shoulder. And I was the fundamentals coach. So I got this kid to bat. He could throw well. Got him to bat. He was having a good bat. Well, we had this baseball tournament in Iowa, and I didn't see him on the list. And I called his aunt. I go, why isn't Blake coming? We can't afford that, Sam. He had to go sell raffle tickets to get in there. I go, really? He said, he can come with us. I don't have the money to send him. I go, no, it's a kid. How much can he eat? You know, him and Sam can share a bed. We'll let him come. So we're up near Okoboji, and my aunt was in a long-term care facility, and her daughter Franny, who has Down syndrome, she's a mentality of a 12-year-old, and she's one of our favorite cousins. My dance partner at wedding reception, just great. And so we were going to go visit her where she's staying in a facility. So we go see Aunt Jean, and I give her a kiss. She's ready to check out. And we loved Aunt Jean. And so we stayed with her for a while, and then we went and saw Franny. We walked in the door. She goes, Sam, you finally came and saw me. So we walked in, and we sat down where she had her little table with all of her stuff on it. And her friends are walking by, and the people there. This is my cousins Sam and Marie, and these are my grandchildren. And it was so, and this kid's sitting there with like his jaw dropped. So we get in the car, and we're heading to Lamar's to get ice cream for the kids, and then come back into Omaha because they have the ice cream store there. And he goes, you went on your way to do that. He goes, why? I go, why not? It's touching. I mean, I had to see, these are people that are very important in my life. And we took the time out to do that. And the kid was just like blown away that we took the time and drove the extra 5 hours that day to go and do this. And I go, it's about, I told him, I said, Blake, this is about giving back. You can't leave family alone. You get there when you can, you know, and remember that. You're never alone. You're with your aunt right now. You're not in a foster home. You're not in it. Your family took care of you. I'm taking care of my family. That was a very big impact on that kid.
Wow.
And today he's doing well. He's got a college degree, you know, and he's just, and the kid just went out. I'm not saying that I just had a partial influence on the child. That aunt had a wonderful influence on that boy.
Wow.
So it's anyway, that's what they say. It takes a community to raise a child.
Yes.
It does.
Yes.
So.
Well, you're talking earlier, and you kind of answered a little bit about sowing seeds for life turnarounds, and you mentioned Blake as one, and you know a couple other questions we're going to ask you in a minute, but is there another story that really comes to your mind of a life turnaround because of something that you did or your family did?
Well, life turnarounds, it happens from, we as kids, my parents would take in family strays. I call them family strays because they're
Good
cousins,
term.
grandchildren, cousins that needed, that like Carmelita, but I mean, they actually lived in our home.
With all the big family you already had.
Oh, no, just when you got 13, what's
Anyway.
another one, you know? What's one more? Well, we were kind of getting out of the house, the kids were kind of going, and they would come in, and it was kind of a blessing, you know, in a sense, because we got to know them. One in particular was my cousin Craig Fulmer. He came to us, and his family put him in an alcohol rehabilitation facility here in Omaha. And he got released, and he shows up at my mom's front door. And he goes, Aunt Marianne, I can't go back home. I'm afraid I'm going to drink. She opened the door, sent him to his room. He came downstairs. And this is a guy that totaled out 28 cars in his life, okay? This guy was great, but we loved him dearly.
Whoa.
And so my dad reached, he goes, Uncle Joe, I need to go to an AA meeting. Dad reached up, handed him the keys to the car and said, there's your car. Take care of it. Whew. Off he went. So finally one day, and he was just part of our family, like another brother, just as ornery as we were. And he said, he came one day at supper and he goes, time to go home. I'm ready. I got a job down in Superior.
Aw.
And then the biggest shop in town. Great. I went down there one day to go visit, and I was going to spend a few days and help my uncle. And Craig goes, "Can you give me a ride to the hospital?" Superior. Took him there. Bad. He had prostate cancer at 32.
Oh.
So we ended up back in Omaha with us after his treatments and so forth. And it was like, wow. And his defiance of trying to fight that was moving for our family. And then after I found out exactly what his prognosis was, I drove 3 hours to tell his brothers,
Wow.
you better prepare your family for a death.
Yeah.
But Craig was that inspirational person that gave us the motivation that I'm going to fight through this. He found his spirituality. The priest that came down was his first funeral. It's the first person that after he got out of the seminary came down to the house and talked to him about where he was going or what his transition was. When he passed away, that priest asked to get in the car with my two sisters. Number one, that was to drive down there 3 hours.
Wow.
To go, and they asked for this priest's notes after I shot it from the hip, Sam. I shot it from the hip. He said this was my first one I've ever had to do. First funeral.
Yeah.
And it was a basis for him. So life-changing moments happen all the time to people.
Oh my God.
Just by the outgiving. So
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I know,
That's
it's
amazing.
great.
God was sure in it.
yeah,
God was very much in it.
yeah. So
Well, you've got all these wonderful stories. Could you please tell us the story about the Gran Torino?
the movie Gran Torino is the same thing like with Craig. The movie Gran Torino, where Clint Eastwood played this man that was a widow. His wife had died. His kids came home. His kids didn't really like him. He had a hard life. He said he married the greatest woman in the world. And he lived in a depressed area where it was a lot of Asians that were in the neighborhood. And a lot of racist slurs were coming out of his mouth and everything. And one night, he had these kids, there was a fight next door trying to take this kid away. And he got out his rifle and he pointed at these people, "Get off my lawn, get off my lawn." Well, then the neighborhood flipped out because these were gang members. They're trying to take this kid away. Well, then he went in and he saw the girl that was there that, with the brother, and she was getting harassed by these thugs. And then he stopped them, actually pulled a gun on them in the movie, and got her in his truck. And he got to know her. And that was a transformation because someone young, and they talked about life and how they came here, And he was Catholic. He said, and he goes, "Who brought you here?" "The Lutherans." "Why they bring you to such a cold place?" But he got to learn about these people, and it transformed him. It transformed that young boy. He helped that boy. He said, "I'm going to man you up." He said he got him a job. He went through a time where the gang members got a hold of him and hurt him, and he helped him back again getting tools to help him get his job. And then they beat up the girl. They took the girl, and they just beat her almost to death. And he went after those boys in front of their place. And to stop them, he sacrificed himself. But not only that, the priest that was sitting there trying to help him through all this was young too, like that priest that helped my cousin Greg.
Wow.
And it gave him a transformation of, when the priest was eulogizing him, said, "I was wrong. He told me about life. He was the one that sat there that I'm going to just help little old ladies." But he really helped me, and he helped everybody.
Wow.
So that is the thing that when you see the violence in that movie, but what it did for that man and what he did for everybody. When that community sat there and said, "Here," they were bringing him food. And they go, "Why?" "Because you saved this kid named Tao."
Yeah.
Then he helped build the neighborhood. He helped
my
get this
gosh.
kid clean up and fix everybody's houses up and clean up their yards.
That's incredible.
So, that movie says a lot about the way people give back.
And not to judge, it's so easy to judge.
Yeah.
And I'm at a couple Neil Market, and a lot of things happen, and I'm really praying hard for them now and wishing I had talked differently a couple weeks ago. And it is. It's about sowing seeds and not judging, but what can I do to help? What can I do to change this person's life? And so that's an awesome story. I recommend that to people. Also, you talked about owning your challenge. And this is a really cool story. We have about 3 minutes left, so just,
Okay.
but go ahead and share, please.
I have a daughter who stutters, and she got bullied in the 7th grade. And I called a couple parents, and it got stopped. And she has a speech pathologist, and she says, my speech pathologist wants me to give a speech in English class on this. I go, why? She goes, because I need to own this, Dad. I have to own this. So she gave that speech. She also did it when she started at Mercy High School. She walked in each class and said, hi, I'm Gina Troy, I stutter. Well, one of the teachers asked why you did that. She goes, so you don't talk behind my back, so you know that I stutter. Then she went out for speech team. She got knocked off because she stuttered. So she said, I'm going to give a speech again on stuttering, that I stutter.
Wow.
She went all the way to, almost went to state with that speech. And she didn't make it, but she almost got there. But I mean, she said, I'm going to own this. She wanted to run for the Queen of Santa Lucia, and she won in 2018. And that transformed my daughter because I'm going to want to do this. She was a little girl that was a flower girl, and then wanted to do this. And that's how I got involved into these organizations to really fan myself out because she needed to volunteer. That young lady will have over 500 hours of community service when she's done. And then my son, he also followed up the same thing. He started this thing called Be the Light and did something at Creighton University to help the people that were mentally ill.
Oh, wow. So that was called, was it Nebraska Ability?
No. That was another thing he did. He did the Nebraska Ability towards his, he went out and kids that had, and adults that had disabilities and what their abilities were.
Okay.
For his thesis that he had to do at the end to get at a grad school. And what he did was he did this thing at the Urban Abbey and down in the old market, put pictures of them. We even drove to North Platte to interview kids that was cerebral palsy. His kid has his own job, works in his church, and bought his own car. And it wasn't about his disabilities, it's about their abilities.
That's
And
so
he even
powerful.
and he did it for my sister. He did it for my daughter, his sister, my daughter Gina, and put her picture up there too, about her disability and what her abilities were. So you highlight the abilities. When someone's disabled, they do have abilities,
Yes.
and that's why he's an occupational therapist, because that's what his passion was, to get people up and moving.
Wow. And we're out of time, but you said he has a TED Talk,
That's a
correct?
TED Talk, Sam Troya TED Talk. It's got like 12,000 views. They use it as a teaching tool. It's about helping people with mental illness and what he had to go through with his wife, or his fiance at the time. They connected, and they together are sitting there advocating for people with mental illness and to help them. Be a friend,
Wow.
because these are friends.
That is fantastic.
You know.
Thank you so much,
you.
Sammy. This has been fabulous. Look up Sammy
Thank you,
Troya on the internet, on Facebook. Awesome, awesome. And I would really encourage all of you viewers, get involved in the community. It not only changes other people's lives, it changes your life. Goodbye. God loves you. We
Goodbye,
love
y'all.
you.
Thank you.